Is your zip code killing your child's soccer future? If you don't live near a soccer talent hotbed, a major MLS Next hub like Dallas or Southern California, you might feel like you're already falling behind. You feel a bit guilty that you can't give them the best facilities or the elite coaching. What if those best facilities are actually creating fragile players though? And that your bad location, your small town with a bumpy fields, is actually a statistically proven secret weapon for building a world-class athlete. It's a phenomenon called the Birthplace Effect, and the data shows that elite athletes are actually underrepresented in the big cities and massive academies. So before you look up real estate in Frisco, I want to offer you a choice. Option A, you move. You pay the $4,000 a year for elite travel ball. They train 3 times a week on a perfect turf, coached by a guy with a fancy license who treats every under 10 game like the World Cup final. Or option B, you stay exactly where you are. Your kid plays on a bumpy park pitch that hasn't been mowed in 2 weeks. His coach is a volunteer dad who mostly just stands there and lets them play, and the nearest scout is 3 hours away. Your instinct screams option A. But today I'll show you why option B is the gold mine. To understand why your location might actually be an advantage, we need to look at 2 different kids. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex lives in a major US soccer hub. Alex plays for a top-tier academy. Alex's life is run by a calendar app. School ends. Mom or dad is waiting in the car. They sit in traffic for 45 minutes to get to the complex. Alex trains for 90 minutes on a perfectly flat turf field. The coach is what I call a puppet master. His screaming instructions. Pass here, move there, chest up. Alex executes the drills perfectly. It looks like professional soccer. Now, let's look at Sam. Sam lives in a town of 40,000 people, maybe somewhere in the Midwest. There's no academy nearby. Sam finishes school and walks to the local park with 3 friends. The grass is uneven. There are patches of dirt. They play 2v2. They argue about fouls. They try ridiculous skills because nobody's watching. Sam is messy. On paper, you'd bet the house on Alex. Alex has the resources. Alex is in the system. But here's the reality. Alex is becoming a recipe follower. Because the environment is so perfect and the coaching is so constant, Alex is learning to follow a set of instructions. If A happens, do B. But what happens when the game gets chaotic? What happens when the recipe changes? Alex freezes. Sam, on the other hand, is becoming a master chef because the field is bumpy. Sam has to adjust his feet constantly. Because there are no adults regulating the game, Sam has to solve social problems. And because there are only 4 players, Sam touches the ball every 3 seconds. Sam understands the principles of the game, not just the drills. And this aligns perfectly with what the Scottish FA found in their review of youth development. They noted that 95% of Brazilian players developed on the street corners, not in the academies. They weren't following recipes, they were cooking with whatever ingredients they had. The Birthplace Effect isn't about the facility, it's about the freedom. The city kid is being trained to be a robot. The village kid is adapting to be an athlete. I want to break this down using my 2 favourite lenses, ecological dynamics and physiotherapy, because what looks like a bad environment is actually a perfect training ground. As a physio, I have a massive problem with young kids playing exclusively on pristine turf fields. We think it's safer. Well, it's not. It's predictable. When Alex runs on that flat turf, every foot strike is identical. The ankle joint doesn't have to work as much. The small stabilizer muscles go to sleep, sort of. Now, look at Sam on that patchy grass field. Every step is a micro challenge. There's a divot here, a bump there. Sam's brain is constantly receiving noise from the feet. stabilize left, adjust right, and this forces what we call self-organization. Sam doesn't need a speed and agility coach to teach balance. The muddy field is the gardener. It's created an environment where Sam must grow strong ankles just to survive. And here's the counterintuitive physio truth. Bad surfaces often create softer movers. If you play on concrete or hard ground, you can't slam your feet down. It hurts. Your body naturally self-organizes to land softer, to glide over the surface. You build a suspension system in your muscles. Kids who grow up on soft 4G often become heavy runners because the surface does the work for them. And fast forward to age 16, the intensity ramps up. Who gets the stress fracture? Well, it might be the kid who spent 10 years on turf. Now, let's look at the headspace. This is huge in the US system where everything's ranked and rated from under 9s. If you move to that big soccer hub, you're throwing your kid into a shark tank. They walk into tryouts for the elite academy and they're surrounded by 200 other kids who are just as good. Suddenly, your child is bang on average. They sit on a bench. Their identity stool becomes wobbly. They start playing with fear. They stop taking risks because they don't want to get cut. Now, look at Sam in the small town. Sam is the best player in the zip code. Sam's king of the village. You might worry, but isn't he getting complacent? Doesn't he need to be challenged? Well, actually, for a child, that dominance is a superpower. It gives them kind of irrational confidence. Sam tries the bicycle kick. Sam holds the ball for 5 seconds longer than Alex does. Why? Because Sam isn't scared. You need that period of ego. You need that phase where you feel untouchable. That develops the master chef creativity, the flair that coaches claim they want, but usually coach out to kids. We pay thousands of dollars for professional coaching. We want the puppet master. We want to see the coach earning their money by yelling instructions. But from an ecological dynamics perspective, the lazy coach, the volunteer dad in a small town, is often accidentally a genius. When the coach steps back, they act like a gardener, not a dictator. They provide the space, so the soil and the ball, the water, and they let the player grow. If you have a coach joysticking your child every 30 seconds, they're stealing the decision making. They're training a recipe follower. So the isolation of a small town means fewer experts interfering with the natural learning process. I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Okay, the park is great for skills, but we live in America. If you're not on the MLS Next roster, you don't get recruited. If nobody sees my kid, they don't exist. And this is the fear of missing out. And it's the main product of the youth soccer industry. Let's take a second and look at the reality though. Research, including reports from major federations, tells us that identification at age 10 or 11 has almost zero correlation with elite success at age 18 or 20. In fact, being identified that early is often a curse. It leads to early specialization and burnout. If your child is actually good enough, they will be found. But in a big country like the US, the bridge just happens later. And honestly, you want it to happen later. The goal isn't to be recruited at 10. The goal is to be ready at 16, 17 or even 18. I'd much rather my kid be an unknown master chef, technically superior, mentally fresh and physically durable at 14 than a known recipe follower who's burnt out and managing chronic knee pain by 12. The isolation buys you time. It buys you a runway where you can focus on development without the noise of rankings and roster spots. When they hit 14 or 15, that's when you might look for the bridge. Maybe that's when you drive to the bigger club. So stop apologizing for where you live. Stop looking at Zillow listings in Frisco or Cary, North Carolina. Leverage where you are. If you're in a small town, you're sitting on a gold mine, but you have to mine it. And here's your game plan. Do not spend 8 hours a week driving to a better club that's just going to drill the creativity out of your kid. Take those 8 hours and give them back to your child as free play. Stop looking for perfect grass. Encourage them to play on the tennis courts, the driveway, the muddy patch in the backyard. Tell them that the bad bounce is making them a master chef. You don't need a fancy academy to have high standards. If you have a ball and a wall, you have a facility. Your child's ecosystem, the balance of play, rest, surface types, and mental freedom is the single biggest predictor of their durability and their long-term potential. If you want to know if your current schedule is building a resilient master chef or a fragile recipe follower, I can help you figure that out. I look at your kid's entire world, the surface types, the travel load, the sleep, play volume. I help you identify the hidden advantages in your current setup so you can stop stressing about moving house and start building a player. The link to apply is right down there. Thanks for watching.